Hello, my dear students. Good afternoon and welcome to Gradeup, India's largest online education platform. I am Vinod Shankaran, and today we will learn grammar concept of phrases. Last class में हमने सीखा था कि कैसे किसको हम क्लॉज कहते हैं. फर्स्ट क्लास में हमने सीखा था टेंस और वर्ब्स के रूट के बारे में जाना था. टेंस इज ऑल अबाउट द time of the verb and all those things we learned, and we learned what a clause is in the last class. Clause क्या होता है ये बताया था. And why are these important? Because एक याद हो आपको, I said in the last class, and before we go further, आपको ये बता दूं, 1 month crash course for BYJU'S exam 2021. The course has been launched, okay, on the 13th. So please join and take a Gradeup subscription and join this course. Okay, the highlights is top quizzes, sectional tests, and PDF for revision, 10 full-length mock tests, 75 interactive live classes, and 1500 plus practice questions. Now, this is very important if you are going to take the BYJU'S and trying to enter the top colleges. Okay, now this course has also been launched. Just take a Gradeup Super for joining these classes. Now, recall, what did we learn? We learned that sentences have two groups of words. Sentence के अंदर दो ही groups of words होते हैं जिसमें गलती हो सकती है. If there is an error in a sentence, you can find those errors only in two groups of words. Now you might argue, say, a sentence is a group of words. Of course it is. But if you want to look for subsets of groups of words, then they are clauses and phrases. Now a sentence may have an error in the clause, in the form of subject, verb, agreement, etc., or the phrases where the phrase should not be written or how the phrase should be structured. In दोनों में ही गलतियां हो सकती हैं. So one who knows how to identify a clause and how to identify a phrase will most probably get all the sentences right. Harsh beta, good evening. Good afternoon, beta. Good afternoon. Okay. So let us come to that concept of what was a clause. Recall that. What was a clause? A clause is nothing but when at least two words join. That is, one word is the subject and another word is the tense. Okay, whether the meaning is complete or not complete. When the subject and tense come together and there is no full stop or question mark, etc., to denote the end of the thought process. Now remember, when I say I sing, now this is only a clause. You might say, sir, the meaning is complete, sir. So why is it not a sentence? Because I don't have a full stop. Okay, I have the subject, I have the tense, and if I do not have the full stop, if I do not write the full stop, then this will only qualify as a clause. Okay, it's a part of a sentence. A clause is a part of a sentence. It will have its own subject and own tense. Okay, but there will be no full stop. So even when you see a sentence like this, when you see the I and the sing, you should call it a clause. You have the subject, you have the tense, it's a clause. But as soon as I put a full stop, the entire thing becomes a sentence. The entire thing becomes a sentence, which means a sentence can have multiple clauses and a punctuation mark to end the thought process. That is, a full stop or a question mark and an interjection mark to denote the end of the thought process. Now this is very important. Okay, how do we identify a sentence? A sentence may have multiple clauses. At least one clause is a must. It will have multiple clauses and a full stop or a question mark or an interjection mark to denote the end of thought. So a sentence can have multiple clauses. One clause is compulsory. Okay, one clause is compulsory, but we can have multiple clauses also in a sentence. Now let us check these sentences. Now you see, India is a big country is one clause and it is developing fast is another clause. This sentence contains two clauses. Clause number 1 and clause number 2. So, sir, how are you identifying these clauses? I am not doing anything. I am going for the tense. If there is tense, there must be a subject. If there is tense, there must be a subject. Therefore, there are two subjects and two tenses, which means there must be two clauses. Okay, so, and joined by a conjunction. And see, till here, within the full stop, there is a full stop you must be noticing. Within the full stop, we have two clauses. Within the full stop, we have two clauses joined by a conjunction. Okay, but you take it from India and go till after the full stop, It is one sentence. It is one sentence. A sentence can have multiple clauses. That's what I said. Now, my father is a doctor. Now, you see, this clause is broken. Clause number one, clause number one. And this is part A of clause A, clause 1. This is part B of clause 1. And this is clause 2. Now, why is this happening? Because of this called the relative pronoun. Now, these concepts can be understood well only when you understand the concept of clause as well. Okay. So, here there is a clause which is who is very generous, and another clause is my father is a doctor. There are two clauses making one sentence. Complete one sentence, and within the full stop there are two clauses. Now come to the third sentence. See how many clauses there are. There are a number of issues. One tense, one clause that have hindered another tense, another clause, two clauses. Which is the hallmark? Now, which is the hallmark? Again, we have another clause. Therefore, this sentence has three clauses. Okay, this sentence has three clauses. Now, let's come to the concept of a phrase. I told you a sentence can have a maximum of two groups of words. One is a clause, but we can have multiple clauses, and one is phrase. The error must be there in the clause or the phrase. Mind you, I am teaching you this concept free of cost simply because if you know English and you know this concept, then there is no need to prepare. Do you understand that? Do you know? Don't need to join classes. But if you do not know this, and if you do not have an idea of how what nouns are, pronouns are, you should join the classes. It's high time you did that, because basic English grammar will be very much important. And for people who already know, this should suffice. Once you know how to identify the clauses and the phrases, you can also see whether the clause is correct or incorrect. I'll show you some examples also here. Okay. Now, what are phrases? Okay. What are phrases? The explanation is given here. The definition is given here. Groups of words with some meaning. It cannot be a meaningless group of words, but there must not be tense. If there is no tense, but a group of words make some sense, then that group of words is a phrase. Okay. Now let us understand the structure of writing some phrases and why these will be important. I'll tell you in a while. Okay. See, I cannot start with sentences right away because you'll get confused. Okay. So let's understand this. I promise you, I'll show you some sentences and you'll be very happy to have learned these top concepts. Okay. Now, structure one. How do we write a phrase? A phrase is a group of words with some meaning and no tense. Some meaning and no tense. So, how can we write a phrase which is called a noun phrase? I say the structure number one will do the work of a noun. How do we write the noun phrase? You write a noun, and before the noun, you must have an adjective, because a phrase is a group of words. Therefore, a single word, one word will never make a phrase. Okay, so what we do is we write the noun and we write the adjective. At least two words, because a noun can be qualified only by an adjective. Therefore, adjective, noun. Okay, this was enough to call it a noun phrase. But sometimes we can also write an adverb to qualify the adjective. Sometimes we can also write the adverb to qualify the adjective. Therefore, I put it in bracket, which means it's optional. The adverb may be there, the adverb may not be there, but the adjective and the noun must be there for it to become a noun phrase. Okay, and then I'll tell you why it's important. You see, the completely dark room. Room is the noun, dark is the adjective. Completely talks about adjective, therefore this is an adverb, and the talks about the completely, therefore this is also an adverb. Now let me tell you, an article primarily works like an adjective or an adverb. Fini. Okay, an article works like an adjective or an adverb. That's all it can do. Okay, and then second one, now this I will call a noun phrase. Okay, how have I written it? I wrote the noun, the adjective, the adverb, and the adverb. Now I can, even if I remove this dark room, that is also a noun phrase. Okay, so come to the next one. A very happy parent. Parent is a noun. Happy is the adjective. Very is the adverb, and a is also the adverb. Okay, therefore here again we have a noun phrase. My dear students. Students is the noun. Dear is the adjective. My is the adverb. My is the adverb. Sir, it's a pronoun, of course, but it's talking about the adjective. Therefore, it's an adverb. Anything that talks about an adjective is an adverb. Much water. Noun phrase, many books, noun phrase. Now, let me explain a thing to you. Nouns and pronouns. What is the basic function of a noun or a pronoun? When they come in a sentence, what do nouns and pronouns do? Primarily, two things. They either become the subject, noun or pronoun about whom we say something or make them do something. You learned that in the last class. Or they do the work of an object, that is, they receive the action. They receive the action, somebody does it, but the action falls on somebody else. That's an object. If I do the action on myself, I am the subject. Okay? Who is doing it? I can do it on others, I can do it on myself. When I do it on myself or others, I am the subject, but the receiver of the action will be called the object. Therefore, noun and the pronoun can basically do the work of a subject or an object. Therefore, a noun phrase can do the work of a subject or an object. Nothing more. Okay, so that's enough for a noun phrase. Now we come to the second one. These are very important. These are very important. If you understand these, then sentence correction becomes very easy. Okay, so let's understand this. How do we write the second phrase, which works like an adjective or an adverb? Primarily, they work like adjectives or adverbs. How do we write this adjective like a phrase doing the work of an adjective or the phrase doing the work of an adverb? How do we write this? Okay, we will write the object. Now, the object is a noun or a pronoun. The object is a noun or a pronoun. And before that, I may write an adjective. Therefore, it is in brackets. And I may also write an adverb. But there will always be a preposition. Therefore, these phrases which work like adjectives or adverbs, they must begin with a preposition. They'll not do the work of a subject or an object, mind you. When a phrase starts with a preposition and ends in the noun or the pronoun, the entire thing will be called a prepositional phrase. And a prepositional phrase does the work of an adjective or an adverb. And how do we identify the prepositional phrase? As soon as you come to a preposition, run and find the object, that is the noun or the pronoun, where it must end. Okay, as soon as you see a preposition, run, find the object. We have found the object. And before that, you see an adjective. Therefore, this is called a prepositional phrase. And whenever I write this in a sentence, the entire sequence will do the work of an adjective or an adverb. These three words together will do the work of an adjective or an adverb. Okay, so how do we identify the prepositional phrases? And then I'll tell you how these things work and help us in correcting sentences. Wait for a second. Okay, it's a very important concept. Okay, and for DUJAT, etc., exams where grammar questions are asked, IPM, etc., where questions are longer, and you have to have this concept to be able to analyze a sentence and correct a sentence. Okay, so let's look at this. Without my help, preposition ho gaya, help ho gaya, noun, ye ho gaya prepositional phrase. In an important meeting, देखो preposition. Meeting में जाके खत्म हुआ. और important adjective and adverb. अब तुम बोलोगे कि सर अगर मैं in हटा दूं, then it's a noun phrase. Of course, it's a noun phrase. But as soon as you see a preposition, be ready for a prepositional phrase. As soon as you see a preposition, be ready for a prepositional phrase. So I saw a preposition. I am ready for a prepositional phrase. This is, and always remember, the preposition will go and end in a noun or a pronoun. That you need to find out. The preposition will go and end on a noun or a pronoun called the object of the preposition. Okay? So, in an important meeting is another prepositional phrase. Below the surface is another prepositional phrase. Beyond the river and to the highest bidder. Okay? These are prepositional phrases. How do we identify the noun phrase? Noun, adjective, adverb. Okay? No preposition. If there is a preposition, then the entire sequence will become a prepositional phrase, doing the work of an adjective or doing the work of a subject or an object. Okay, so that's done. So let's come to them. And let me tell you again, remind you, because we have been studying long. And so let me remind you, 1 month crash course for DUJAT exams have begun. This batch has begun. Now you should join. If you want to do a number of questions and want to be ready for the exam, before the exam, you want to do a lot of practice, join this course. Okay, and this course has also been launched. You just need to take a Gradeup Super subscription. Now, let us come to the third one. Now, this is the last phrase. This also does the work of an adjective and an adverb. But how is it written? Structure 3. Okay, how is this written? This is called a, okay, we talked about a noun phrase, we talked about a prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase works like an adjective or an adverb. And the third structure is called a verbal phrase. It's called a verbal phrase. Now, what is a verbal phrase, sir? If you remember, when I taught you how to identify tenses, I said V3 and V4 alone cannot show tenses. They cannot show tenses, but they can become phrases then, because if they show tenses, they'll become clauses. V3 and V4 can never show tenses without helping verbs. If you don't put a helping verb in front, this V3 and V4 cannot show tenses. So when they come alone, they are called verbals. When they come alone, they are called verbals, and they also create a phrase. Okay, so look at this. How do we write this? We write the object again. Okay, object is nothing but a noun or a pronoun. When you write a V3 and V4, and the noun or the pronoun where the V3 or V4 ends, and in the middle you can have all those like adverbs, adjectives, etc. As soon as you see a V3 or a V4, as soon as you see a V3 or a V4 without a helping verb preceding, then you should always know that there is a phrase. Okay, and that phrase is a verbal phrase. And verbal phrase also does the work of a noun, of an adjective or an adverb. Okay, now look at this. Singing a song, Gana gaate hue. It does not say Gana ga raha hai. Okay, Gana ga raha hai ke liye he is singing. Look at this. He is singing. When the V4 is preceded by a helping verb, it shows tense. But then when it comes like this, singing a song, this cannot show tense because there is no helping verb. Now here it's a phrase. Okay, so singing a song, boiling the water, water को boil करते हुए, sitting on the branch, branch में बैठे हुए, delighted with the news, ये V3 है. News से खुश हुआ नहीं लिखा है, news से खुश होने के बाद लिखा है. कौन? There is no tense. Okay, destroyed by the fire, आग से जुलस खत्म होने के बाद, विनाश होने के बाद क्या? Okay, so these are all called verbal phrases. So there are 3 types of phrases possible: noun phrases, prepositional phrases, and verbal phrases. 2 are very important. The prepositional phrases and the verbal phrases are very important for correction of sentences. Let me show you how. Okay, let's first of all identify some phrases. Let's identify some phrases. You see, the students singing a carol were waving to the passers-by. Now, to the passers-by is a prepositional phrase. Okay, singing a carol is a verbal phrase. Okay, and the students were waving. This is a clause. I said at least one clause must be there. There is one clause. The students were waving. Okay, and singing a carol does not show tense because there is no helping verb here. Therefore, singing a carol is a verbal phrase. And then to the passers-by is a prepositional phrase. So this sentence has one clause and 2 phrases. Let's come to the second one. You see, the rise in retail prices. In retail prices is a prepositional phrase. The subject is rise. Therefore, I have written has been. You see, this is how sentences become correct. Why didn't I write have been? Simply because my subject is rise. And why didn't you pay any attention to in retail prices, sir? Because it's a prepositional phrase doing the work of an adjective or an adverb. It cannot do the work of a subject. Done? So we can think of this as extra information because it's a prepositional phrase. So the rise has been a worrisome factor is a noun phrase. For the government is a prepositional phrase. Struggling comes without a helping verb. Therefore, this is a verbal phrase. Done. Again, in the entire sentence, such a long sentence, but we have only one clause and all the others are phrases, different kinds of phrases. Okay, now come to the next one. Some of my books have been stolen. Of my books is the phrase. Some is the subject. Therefore, I've written have because have is a pronoun. Have is a pronoun. Some is a pronoun. Now, pronoun has to point to a noun. It points to books. Therefore, I think of some as plural. Look at this. This is very important. Only then you will understand how to analyze a sentence. Of my books is a phrase. So, if I remove this, How will I decide some is singular or plural? But some actually is a pronoun. A pronoun requires a noun. So this pronoun is pointing to the noun. What is the noun? It's plural. Therefore, I'll consider some plural and I'll remove this phrase. Once I know what the pronoun is pointing to, it's a plural noun, I'll remove it and I'll write have, because some is pointing to have. Some is pointing to a plural noun. Therefore, I'll write have. Now come to the next sentence. Some of the glue has leaked out. Now again, some is a pronoun, point to the uncountable noun glue. Glue is singular. So and then I remove this phrase. Therefore, some for me is because it is pointing to the glue. Therefore, some has leaked out. Now come to the next one. In those buildings is a phrase, prepositional phrase. The subject is everybody. Everybody is always written with the singular verb. Now all these things are possible only when I have taught you this clauses and phrases well. So anybody who aspires to master English grammar, the first thing to learn is how to identify a clause and a phrase. If you know that, then you know your English. Okay, and you don't even have to go for say any kind of coaching if you can practice this a lot. Okay, but then if you think your grammar is very weak and you need assistance, you should always come to us and I'll be able to help you out. Okay, it's pretty easy and grammar can be very interesting. Grammar can be really very interesting. Okay, now let us see, how does the knowledge help to correct sentences? Let's check. Find the error in the following sentences. Okay, now look at this. The student singing a carol has. Now this will be wrong because singing a carol is a phrase. Let me remove this. The subject is students. Students is plural. It cannot be written with has. So I'll have to write have. So the students singing a carol have crossed the clock tower. Okay, now come to the next one. The rise in retail prices have been, this we did in the last slide. Okay, see if I remove this in retail prices, the subject is actually, why am I removing this? Because it's a prepositional phrase. Prepositional phrase does not become a subject. Usually, okay, in 99.9% of the cases, they'll not become subjects. So if they don't become subjects, they are doing the work of an adjective or an adverb. Adjective adverbs cannot be subjects. So remove that. The subject is rise. Rise is singular. So we should say has been. Come to the next one. This is a big problem for many of you. Here you get stuck. Sir, has likhu ya have likhu? What do I do? It's pretty easy. When you say one of my books is a phrase. And from the books, you're talking about one. You're trying to pick one from many. The subject is one. Of my books is a phrase. Therefore, I'll write has. There is one more problem that goes with it. One of my books or one of my book. Students also get stuck here. What should I say? One of my books or one of my book? बहुत ही आसान है हिंदी बोलकर देखो. किताबों में से एक, from many books one or from one book one. What are you trying to say? From one book one, you don't have to go roundabout. You can simply say one book. Okay? Only when it is from many, we say one of my books. So from many books, one. Okay, and why are you leaving this? Because it's a prepositional phrase. The subject is one, therefore I say has. Two of my books have been stolen because I'm writing it for two. Of my books is a phrase. Okay, now come to the next one. Now this is a very interesting sentence. Look at this. Writing so many books do not seem to tire the author. Now here, which one is the subject? Is this a verbal phrase? No. This is not a verbal phrase. So many books is a noun phrase and writing is the subject. What does not? Writing does not. Okay. See, here's books is not the subject. Writing is the subject. Writing what? So many books. So here, this so many books is the object of writing. It's not the subject. So let us remove this object and read. Writing, writing something. So writing does not. Writing does not. So now let's read the sentence. Writing so many books does not. So writing does not seem to tire the author. Everybody in those buildings were evacuated. This is how you get your sentences. It's very easy. In those buildings is a phrase. Everybody always takes the singular verb. So was. How will I know what takes what, sir? Everybody takes singular, huh? Or say, what about few? Do I write the plural or the singular? What about each, everybody, either, neither? What do I do? Okay, for those, we'll have some more sessions. Don't worry. Please attend these sessions. Share them with your friends and ask the maximum of your friends to come and make use of these sessions. You won't get this anywhere. That I can see. I'm not trying to show my pride here. It's simply because sometimes it's important to tell you what you won't get elsewhere because it's not available. Okay, so such analysis you won't get for free. So please come to these classes and make full use of these. Okay, now we are also on Instagram now. This is our handle. You can follow this. I hope you have understood the concept of clauses and phrases. And if you are new to the class, please watch the previous sessions of these these particular sessions. Okay, grammar sessions for BBA BBS. Okay, from Gradeup. Subscribe to this channel, like, and share it with your friends also. Now you'll get a 25% off on DUJAT Super Crash Course, which was originally 8,500. Now you can avail it for 6,375. And again, IPM BBA 2022. We have enough time to start preparations. Okay, this is originally 30,000 and 30,000. Now it will cost you only 22,500 by using the coupon new25. Okay, for any queries, please call these numbers. Okay, and please do subscribe to this channel and keep the bell icon pressed so that you can get the notifications. You can also join the Telegram channel. The link is given in the description box. Thank you all very much. See you in the next class. Bye bye, beta.